supposed to
You're
say?
very calm
Am I
today.
calm today? No.
Yeah, you're
I think it's because I've
confident.
just been like working like crazy.
Yeah,
You
you're
know what I mean?
very, it's very calm.
So this place makes you calm.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Okay. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm going to try and tone my voice down because I sound like I was screaming the last time.
I
Happy
always
Tuesday,
do that, so, yeah.
And we are so glad to be back here with Sanjeev and Nicole, and we are going to share about water and how important it is and the things that that we don't typically know, right? Like I just got an allergy test back saying that I'm allergic to BPA. But there's so many, things that have BPA in them. Then there's things that say that they're BPA free. Well, if they get hot, do they still have the BPA free, or do the plastics go into the chemicals? So we're gonna answer all that for you today. I hope you guys enjoy.
Yeah, cool, excited.
Right.
Yeah, it's always a big conversation. Water.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the bougie water,
Mm-hmm.
not really.
Nice water,
It's actually just as cheap as. It's cheaper.
It's because the glass bottle, maybe.
It
right?
is, but it's
yeah.
$2.29, and if you went
Okay.
to like CVS or somewhere, you'd pay $5
Yeah.
for the Fiji.
Yeah, right.
So I
right.
got it
Or the
too.
smart water and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, people think it's bougie, but it's really just in glass.
Yep. Exactly.
And heavy, because the people at Instacart tell me it's 40 pounds.
Ooh.
The thing of 12. So what would you say when I ask you about water? What is your first thing? What's the most important thing you think that we should know?
Yeah, about water. Drink it. drink it. And
Any water?
I really do feel that way. Like I think that
Pool
people.
water?
Well, you probably wouldn't want to be drinking pool water or ocean water or something like that. But this is the same kind of philosophy when people talk about, vegetables, organic and non-organic,
Yeah.
and should I eat beets or should I eat kale or whatever. The first step is to eat more vegetables and to drink more water, because most people don't drink enough water. And if there was one superfood that we were going to talk about, it would be water. Like you could live without kale, you could live without chia seeds, you could live without wheatgrass, but you can't live without water. And water has so many different functions, and probably the number one function that it has is its role in detoxification, right? And cellular integrity, allowing these cells to have the integrity and structure that they need so they can function. And so that's why it's like, hey, I get it, there's all of these amazing waters out there, but the first step is to say, okay, I am going to make it a conscious effort, just like I make lunch a conscious effort or breakfast a conscious effort, I'm going to make drinking water a conscious effort. So.
That's
okay.
And then that's great, because
Yeah.
it's really, I don't think we think about it. Like sometimes when I ask my daughter, did you drink water? She looks at me like, please stop nagging me. But it's really important because it's exactly like what you said. And isn't our brain like made up of a lot of water?
Yeah,
like, what's the percentage?
Well, you've got, I'm sorry?
Our whole body.
Exactly.
Yeah, but your brain holds a lot of water.
Right, but like what you've got is 80+% of the body, that's made up of water, right? All the intracellular fluid and blood and your organs are holding water. Your brain is detoxified by water. The cerebral fluid and such is made up of water. It's not made up of milk or it's not made up of like, ginger ale or anything like that. Yeah, right. And so that's why water is so critical, is that it plays a huge role in all of the kind of building elements of the body. So if you don't have enough of it, what happens? Those things are not as structural, they're not as strong, they're not as resilient, and you're not, like you mentioned, moving things along in the system,
And your brain you just can't function.
You can't function, things begin, when you lose cellular integrity, things begin to shrink. Think about all of the energy systems and everything that's the DNA and everything that's in that cell. So if all of a sudden, that cell's not well hydrated and it starts shrinking on itself, then all of those things get jumbled up, they start breaking down. Things that are being made in there are producing toxins, so those toxins then get held in that cell, as toxins get held in the cell then begins to break down and then they die. So, that's why water is, a major thing you should be thinking about every day.
And as a key cellulite, the way, as you were saying that, it made me think about like how it could break down, like even the cellulite.
Collagen and stuff.
Keeps away the fat, ladies. Keeps away the fat.
I have a question. So you say drink any water. But I heard that like if you drink purified water, it's depleted of all the minerals, and that water goes searching for minerals. So I heard that it actually dehydrates you and like absorbs your minerals, where it's worse for you.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. So now the next question becomes like, okay, if I'm going to be focusing on water,
Yeah.
you know, let's just go through the main types of water, which one of them, you know, it's a great point that you bring up, because all of these different processes of water, they're basically cleaning up the water.
Yeah.
Okay, right? They're cleaning it up. I mean, think about it like this, okay, right? So water has a certain set of impurities and purities, if you got it, right? Inorganic and organic material that's in there, okay, right? And so you have the contaminants, which are kind of the heavy metals and the toxic metals. You've got, you know, contaminants that are, you know, in the sewage and the pipes and, you know, all that sort of junk that's in there. And so those are the contaminants, if you will, okay, right? And then you've got levels of organic nutrients that are in there, which are the minerals, okay, right? And you have kind of a whole host of minerals that are in there, right? We always talk about the electrolytes of calcium, magnesium, okay, right? And then there's other minerals too, the trace minerals that are found because they're naturally found in the ground, and water is starting from the ground, right? So when you go through all of these different processes, they're saying, okay, how much can we clean out of this water? And then what are we going to preserve from that organic element? So you make a good point. There's distilled water, right? And so distilled water is, like I was saying earlier, I don't know how I got on this kick, but I think it was probably reading some old bodybuilding magazine when I was like, I think I did it when I was like in my early 20s or whatever, about drinking distilled water. And I remember carrying around distilled water jug for some reason, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I've heard other people, that's a thing. I don't know why it's a thing, but...
Yeah, well, I think that what they did is what I did, obviously, is the thing about distilled water is it's highly, highly purified water. So it's just water. Distilled water has nothing but H2O. So maybe people are thinking, oh, hey, listen, I want the purest and the purest water, right? That's why you're using distilled water for your iron and for, you know, things that, right?
So what do you use, iron?
Yeah.
I love that you still use an iron.
Oh yeah, I love the iron. I love the iron. I'm a big fan of that. Yeah. I hate the steamer thing.
I recommend that irons is close. That's good.
Yeah.
No wrinkles.
No wrinkles.
wrinkles.
I don't know what the wrinkles is.
Shovel.
But yeah.
So could you drink distilled water if you added electrolytes? You'd be fine.
Yeah. You're basically just adding in something that they've completely taken out. So distilled water is like water, and then they boil it, and they take that steam. Okay, right? So it's ultra purified water, and there are values to ultra purified water for types of things that you may be using it for. You could cook with it for sure. Oh yeah, for sure. And so it's probably anything that you don't need the minerals for, okay, right? And so that's why, okay? And then you've got like the spring waters, you know, right? And so the spring waters are from, I guess, well, next step, well, the first thing you have is drinking water, okay, right? So drinking water is drinking water. It is water that, you know, the municipal county is purifying, and it is bringing into your home. And the thing about drinking water is that drinking water changes from state to state. It changes from area to area. It can even change from room to room. And the reason why is because, remember, drinking water is based on what your pipes are like, where it's coming from, your municipality and things like that. So some areas of the country have amazing kind of drinking water, you know, right? I think like Orange County has like one of the most cleanest, purified, greatest like drinking water. Yeah,
that's why they have,
clearly, right?
Duh.
And then, I don't know about you guys, but like Arizona water, I don't know where it ranks, but it's like one of the worst waters, you know, right? And you can taste it. Yeah, it's brutal. I didn't realize how bad it was until like my dad was cooking with it, and like after he like evaporated all this kind of, you know, mineral and white and fluoride and all that, you know, because they heavily fluoride. So you've got drinking water, and that varies from all over the place. And then kind of like, I guess, like we already talked about distilled water, okay, right? And then you've got spring water, okay, right? And so spring water, the definition is a little bit loose, you know what I mean? You got to be careful about how they term spring water. But essentially it's coming from the spring, it's coming from the ground, right? And then they clean it up a bit with some of the contaminants and such. And it is loaded with those natural minerals that are found in the ground. And then you've got kind of these purified waters where you've got like reverse osmosis.
Yeah, so what do you
and
think of that?
Yeah, and so basically you're taking drinking water,
Yeah.
right? And then you're adding a unit to it that's reverse osmosis, that's doing the major thing that it's doing, again, is purifying, getting rid of all the contaminants. And so it's getting rid of the heavy metals, it's getting rid of those contaminants. But while you're doing that, it's not so discriminatory in keeping some of the minerals.
Yeah.
And so you do have to be careful if you are drinking reverse osmosis water that you may be lacking in certain minerals. If you're someone who has issues, like I have a friend who just has a tough time for whatever reason holding water, right? And so she's always dehydrated, but she wants clean water. Her house has reverse osmosis, and so she just adds additional kind of electrolytes and minerals to it, There's ionized water as well too.
Is that
That's
what
another.
that is? No, what is the essentia? Is it
I feel like you
ionized?
had a water
Well-
that said that.
Yeah, that
Oh
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ionized hydration.
But what does that
so
even
does
mean?
Yeah, so basically the
Well,
ionized.
This is purified too.
Yeah, so basically you've got this water, and so what they do with this water is you've got this water, they're gonna clean the water, they've gotta clean the water, okay, right? And so how you're gonna clean the water is you're gonna do reverse osmosis, you're gonna use a carbon filter, or you're gonna ionize it, okay, right? And so ionize it is just a little side crate, so water doesn't conduct electricity, right? And so, but the ions or the minerals that are in that water conduct the electricity, okay, right? And so therefore, you've got, ionized water that's kind of sending these electric currents kind of through it and cleaning up this water, if you will, okay, right? And so you've got that's happening. And then also we'll discuss later about the alkalinity. That's the major reason why they're ionizing it.
Oh, yeah.
This is how they actually increase the pH of water. So pH of water usually is around 7. It's neutral, right? So 1
For
is
regular water, like this would be a pH of 7?
Yeah, most
Spring
water
water,
is
okay.
just 7,
Got it.
right? And so 7 is neutral, obviously 1 is acidic, 14 is basic, right? That's this pH scale, if you will, right? And so you've got this kind of, so anyways, we were talking about this spring water and the minerals and such, and then you've got, have you even seen like these waters for babies? You used to see that at like Safeway.
Yeah.
I think that's just
I know, I don't understand.
nice marketing.
But you know what? When you have a baby, I think honestly, like
you'll buy
I'm
it.
going to be the best mom ever, and
Yeah.
I am going to buy whatever. Oh, is the baby water? Okay, I've got the special baby water. Do you have a special baby water, Mom?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't.
Yeah.
Baby water.
I got it.
Completely,
I mean, it's
yeah,
so
yeah.
weird.
I'm sure that's how they market it, Yeah,
For sure, like, because
Yeah.
you feel like, you got to give your baby the best, but
right,
But-
exactly.
because there's no handbook.
Right.
No
No
handbook when
handbook,
that
just-
kid pops out.
Yeah,
That's
Yep.
so true though. I when I noticed that they had that is when the world was first ending and all the toilet paper and all the water was gone. I saw the baby water. I'm like, can I drink that? Can I get that? Can I get that?
Yeah,
Is that good for you?
Gonna make me younger?
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah,
it is
right.
like the ones left.
totally, yeah. Is it anti-aging? Is it Ponce de
Yeah, right.
Leon's like
And it
Fountain
was
of Youth?
probably by Dasani. Was it by
Yeah.
Dasani?
I don't know. It just
Yeah.
like had a baby on it and it was pink and I was
Yeah.
like,
It was pink water?
like the label was
Oh,
pink and it
label
had
was
little
pink,
babies
yeah.
on it.
So
If
they,
it's pink, I drink it.
yeah. They got
Like
they make it very attractive to make it seem safe and clean for the baby or whatever. So you've got that water, and then you've got this category of waters that are like the alkaline water and the alkalized water, like that post you did today. You've got structured water and things like that. And so now you're kind of fooling around with the composition of the water. What are the soluble elements that are in that water? And the one major element that's in the water is minerals.
Yeah.
And one of the big reasons why you are consuming water is because it does have this mineral content, right? And then based on that mineral content, it's going to be more alkaline or not. So that's kind of the major things to think about. Like, so you've got, okay, drinking water, I'm gonna see how clean and pure it is, and you can go on the web and find out the impurities or the purities of your water, right? And then you'll decide whether you want to drink your drinking water there. And then you'll say, okay, well, I don't want to do that, so now I'm going to buy water. Well, if you're going to buy water, the major areas of water are going to be either distilled water, which I think we've talked about as not being a really healthy thing to consume on a consistent basis.
Especially in Arizona, because it's so hot here.
You're right, right. So in distilled water, you'll still get hydrated from the fact that you're getting water, okay, right? I mean, you're getting water, okay, right? It's just that you don't have that healthy mineral element that's in water. And there are certain minerals that help the body to absorb water, but not in such huge significant quantity that distilled water would not be hydrating it at all. It's not like you drink it and all of a sudden it just flows through the body, you know what I mean, right?
I lost all this water weight.
Yeah. And so you've got that distilled water, and then you've got the spring water, you know, right? And then you've got all those different versions, the Dasani water, right?
Dasani is like one of the worst, probably.
Well, that's.
I feel like that I've read. I don't.
Yeah.
And I don't
Well,
want
I think
to
that's
name
again.
drop anybody. I don't want to put anybody on. I like to keep it, you know, but I do.
It's
think
based
that
on the
that's-
contaminant. So basically, they're taking this kind of spring water. It starts at the spring water level, okay, right? And then they're saying, okay, listen, you know, so what are we going to do to clean up this spring water before we bottle it?
Yeah.
And they'll use different ways in doing that. And depending on how they're doing this distillation process, you're either going to lose, obviously, a lot of the contaminants, but how much of the minerals are you going to lose, and maybe even what minerals are you going to lose, you know, right?
Right.
And then you've got then you take that water and then you start talking about alkaline or not alkaline.
Yeah, because I mean, this is going to sound horrible, but I mean, because after I read the article on all the waters, one of our friends brought over Dasani water, and I made him take it back home.
Right.
Like I wouldn't drink it, but instead I should just
good.
no, but should I just drink the water? Whether it's, you know what I mean? I know I'm just trying to be honest, because I'm not the only one that's, listen, I'm showing, I'm maybe a little water's not, I don't know. But do you drink it or do you not drink it?
Well,
when
I think.
Show up, or do you say go?
I think it's all based on.
Well,
I don't know if I would be like telling you to go home because they brought the wrong water. Yeah, they brought the wrong wine maybe or something like that. I'd be like, hey, listen, dude, you don't want to do this, but. The water, I think I'd be like, okay, like.
I think because I care about my friend just as I would treat myself as the way I treat, you know, I treat everybody else the way I treat myself, and so I'm like, no, we can't have that for our friends. We need to drink the good water. Yeah. But that's bad, huh?
Well, I think that
Does
like.
Make me a snob?
It might make you a little bit of a snob, but I think that overall, it's like, I mean, you know, they used to talk about how, you know, Evian water and how soft Evian water is. And when you drink it, it really does taste soft and velvety. It's just really the composition of the minerals. I mean, that's what's, they're not adding any, that's why I'm saying that, yeah, that's what I'm saying is that mineral composition is almost like the recipe or blueprint for your water, you know, right? And so that category of products like Evian and Dasani and Smart Water and all that, they're basically taking obviously spring water and then they are maybe adding or changing the composition of some of those minerals or keeping it, and they're using, you know, various ways to kind of clean up the contaminants and such. So it's really based on kind of, you know, there's nothing wrong with any of those waters. There's not, and that's the thing. I think that sometimes it gets really overblown too.
That's the part. That's why I wanted to clear that up. Even, I mean, I'm selling myself out here, but I mean, I wanted to see because I feel like, you know, that's wrong. I should, you know, but I know I'm not the only one going, take your Dasani, and we're not drinking that.
Yeah, I think I would probably worry about maybe some things like, oh man, you know, like the what? Well, no question when water's in a glass bottle or anything's in a glass bottle, right? That's why we try to cook in glass things, is because there's going to be less contaminants that are going to seep from the plastic, whatever it is, and it's going to go into your food. You know, well, water's kind of the same way, and like you mentioned here in Arizona, where you can leave your water out, it's hot, and you know, even if it's BPA free, there are other things that are in that plastic or whatever. So I think that's how you kind of look at this. I'm not sure that I would pay an incredible amount for water that's kind of like or a significant amount for water that's just the regular water. Like I could see me paying more if it had like certain things in it, you know, right? I'm not even sure if like, let's talk about that post that you had about alkaline water, you know, right? That's the a huge conversation
Yeah.
with water, right? And so you mentioned that essentials, so essentials is basically saying, listen, you know what? We're going to take water that's neutral at 7, okay,
Yeah.
right? And we're going to, now I will say that like natural, like there's Icelandic water.
Oh, yeah. I
Okay,
like
right?
water.
Icelandic water, yeah.
Something that tastes weird, but they
Yeah.
claim to be the same as Evian. They're not.
Yeah, I actually met those guys that actually started
That's
that
super nice.
company. They were great. They were interesting. They looked very Nordic. They were very like, oh my gosh, you're definitely owners of Icelandic water. And so yeah, the thing about them is that the mineral that the place, the spring in which where they get that water, the result of that water is more alkaline, so it's naturally alkaline. And how these waters get natural alkaline is that the water will move over rocks.
Oh.
And like
That's
how
really
it's
cool.
that's how it's picking up the minerals, right? And so minerals are basic, right? So minerals are basic, and so they're going to turn things more alkaline, right? This is
That's so
why.
interesting.
Yeah, this is why, like, when you have, like, for just a simple example, it's like when people have acid reflux, they tell them to take, Rolaids or,
Which is horrible. It's the worst.
antacids, right? And so, but that conversation is the fact that what that product is minerals, right? So
Oh,
minerals
right.
are naturally basic, they're naturally alkaline. So the more minerals that you have in something, the more alkaline or basic that it's going to be. So basically these spring waters, they pick up the minerals naturally from the ground, from the rocks, all that sort of stuff. And then the result is a more concentrated mineral base in that water, which is making it alkaline, right?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool though about the rocks. I never knew that. I love learning those. See.
Yeah, little
I love
tidbits.
learning the little tidbits of like,
This is
oh,
the only
the
place I
rocks.
get to use this sort of stuff.
I'm like, oh, so now I can know. I can go, oh, it's just the rocks. That's
Right.
how it gets it. Like it goes
That's
over the
so
rocks.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really kind of cool.
Yeah. So it's become a huge conversation because water has, never before that you would have thought, 20 years ago or 25 years ago until
We're
people.
drinking out of the hose.
Yeah, one day you're going to be paying $3 for water. Somebody would say,
no.
that's crazy because,
Right?
water's free. And why would I do, now water's become like the biggest kind of beverage
Yeah.
that people are buying. So now people are trying to do something unique and funky with it,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah, that makes sense.
the first you clean it up, okay, right? And then you try to, do some more things with the properties of the existing water maybe or whatever. And then you start messing with its actual kind of, mineral base or whatever it is, okay, right? And so alkaline water is naturally the thing, okay, right? And alkalines become such a conversation because we know that being acidic is inflammatory, being acidic is a natural petri dish for all disease and illness and such. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do things that are more alkaline for my body. I'm going
Right.
to eat things that are more alkaline. I'm going to drink things that are more alkaline. And it's like, oh, well, hey, I drink a lot of water, so
Right.
I'm going to drink more alkaline-like water. So people then started making these
Alkaline
waters that
water,
are
yeah.
alkaline water.
Can
That
you
makes sense.
overdo it?
Yeah.
Like,
I think
drink
you,
too much of it, does it become then harmful?
I think that you can because so I think with alkaline water, the basis is you're making the body more alkaline, right? But that would mean that you would be making one of the areas, your blood, more alkaline, right? Or you would be raising the pH of your blood. I haven't seen any research or study that's shown that alkaline water does that.
Yeah.
And the body's got a very kind of, it's very specific in where its temperature should be, where its alkalinity should be, where its acidity should be and everything. And so you don't really want to mess around with that, right? And so I don't think it's doing any significant amount of alkalinity to the more important areas of the body. But then also if you do drink too much of it, you could be reducing the stomach acid acidity as well too. I mean, obviously you would have to drink a lot of it, but when I see people going crazy with water.
They're like nonstop. I mean, my husband loves that. Like he loves the Essentia, but once I learned through school, even like your body, if you give it half the chance, it'll heal itself,
Yeah.
right? So I start to look at, okay, it's in plastic, right? So what do I want more? Do I want, do I just put, electrolytes in the glass bottle, or do I drink, the pH, right? But again, like what you said, like there hasn't been any studies that have shown that that's actually been legit and it's actually like cured somebody of their acid, any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's tough to, even with some of the research, it's like, did they get these health properties because they were just drinking more water, or is it because they were drinking alkaline water?
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that alkaline water is not something of benefit.
Right.
Am I saying that, and that's, I think, been the biggest argument with people in this space, isn't that they're debating whether alkaline water is healthy or not. They're just trying to say, like, man, there's some really crazy claims that people are making of alkaline water, and I'm not really sure that's substantiated. And like you said, is that what you're doing with alkaline water is you're just adding minerals to it.
Right.
And so you could add minerals to it. You could take regular water and add, I think those are Noon tablets or maybe something like that.
And then the Ultima, would that just be about the same thing? The
That's
electrolytes and
minerals.
do the
Sure,
pH or no?
yeah, because you're changing the mineral composition of it, and so you would make it more alkaline. And so, is that good enough? You know what I mean, right? Now, there's also people saying, well, wait a second. There's a difference between. It was your post today about alkalized water and alkaline water. So alkaline water is where they're taking water and they're adding minerals to make it more alkaline. And then alkalized water is more of its natural way of alkalizing it, which is one, either by getting it from a spring that, like I was talking about, but then secondly, they'll actually use the ionization, right, where they're basically breaking down the water into these oxygen hydrogen molecules, and then these hydrogen molecules have a different kind of charge, and that's how they're making it more alkaline. And so that whole conversation is like, oh hey, rather than to add something to water, why aren't you using the inherent properties of water to make it more alkaline? And again, I really don't know if there's any significant amount of research that says, hey man, this stuff is so great for you.
Yeah, and I think that's, and there's nothing against like Essentia water. I think it's all great. For me, it's just because I have the allergies to the plastic. So then that was really why I just decided to go, full on with the $2.29 big water. Versus,
the glass water,
People say it's so expensive, and it's actually really not. But don't go buy it, because I need to go buy it. So don't buy it all. No, just joking.
There's so much of it.
But I mean, it's so then I'm being safer with the glass.
Yeah, totally. Like my sister buys the glass 5-gallon jugs rather than which is like so
and
heavy
then
to lift.
then does she go to the store and get it and fills it up, or she orders this?
Oh no! I'm saying, like, how you've got like the 5-gallon water cooler or whatever, and so instead of like what I get, which is the plastic.
Right. She gets the glass one?
The glass, which is like
it's super heavy.
So heavy, like you're just like,
my
oh god.
Like,
every time I'm there, she's like, oh hey, can you put it on? I'm like, oh no, why are you calling me?
She's waiting.
just
wait
don't
for the
worry.
workout. Like, all right,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So when it comes to this water has we were talking about the total dissolved solids.
Yeah.
Which I never knew about this. So it says total dissolved solids, and it kind of gives you the breakdown of the mineral content in it. So when you see that, because Fiji has that too, like when you see the good amount of minerals, is it necessary for electrolytes to be added? Because it already has those. Because these are electrolytes, right? Minerals are electrolytes. Yeah. So is it totally necessary to add more, or would this be pretty sufficient in itself?
Well, it kind of depends on kind of your electrolyte needs, right? So if you just came off of a run, and you're someone that sweats a lot, or whatever, it's that you would be depleting a certain amount of electrolytes, and so maybe you would want to add more. Like that's what I do, like I use I'm a huge believer in minerals, you know, right? And because I'm a huge believer in minerals, I will add a lot of minerals to my diet, meaning that obviously I'll use the, you know, the liquid trace and ultra trace mineral complexes. I take mineral capsules as well too. I don't think you really can get, you know, enough of them reasonably or whatever. And so therefore, you know, some people will put it in their waters as well too, you know. And that total dissolved solids, as we know, it's not just the minerals, so it's everything, right? And so total dissolved solids is everything that they found that's in this water. So whether it be minerals, whether it be heavy metals, whether it be contaminants, whether it be whatever, is that they're going to say this is the total amount of solids. And so you know, these are around, you know, 200 parts per million, I think, you know, right? And so you'd like it to be under 300, you know, right? Because then after that, you'd say, well, wait a second, unless somebody's played around with this water, meaning they've added something to it. And if they haven't added something to it, then it's not as purified as what you would like it to be, you know, right? And so, so I think you brought up something though, that was interesting about this before, which is totally dissolved solids, minerals. Oh, I forget. But like, So, anyways, I think that that's what you kind of have to look at with water, and they've gotten so strict now with water. You know, because back in the day, you know, when there was a water rush and people were just buying whatever, people were just coming out with all sorts of water, and now there's actually guidelines of how much can actually be in water, how it needs to be cleaned up. And that's why I say, you know, I'm not necessarily a water snob in the sense of like I'm only going to drink certain waters. But I would be someone that says, hey, listen, you know, maybe there's a preference, you know, I like Avion water or like this or that. I'm not a big, you know, I'm always putting things in water. I'm not a really big drinker of water. I'm not that guy that's like, oh, I love the taste of water. So that's why I'm always putting something in there. I put anything and everything, you know, right? Like, it doesn't matter.
Dirt.
Oh, dirt, I know, but like anything that just changes the taste of it. Oh, actually, that's what I wanted to mention, is that, you know, another way to alkalize water is you could just put lemon or lime in water, you know?
Which leads me to what our big bang is. This is the really important information that Sanjeev told us last time about first thing in the morning. Right? So like, but even so, if you had like hot water with lemon, then that would just alkalize your body. That gets it going, like Drano kind of. I tell my clients, it's like Drano, just go ahead and drink that right out. It's very nice,
So I think like the biggest, and so ending kind of this thing, it's people always ask, well, all right, so how much water should I drink? You know, right? And and when should I drink it? You know, well, here's my thing, my general rule, you know, the optimal amount of water, if you could get in, it's a really, you know, how I use a simple equation. I just say, okay, listen, take your body weight, you know, right? And like my body weight's 180 pounds, okay, right? So divide that by 2, that's 90. And I'm going to try to drink 90 ounces per day, okay, right? That's not an easy thing to do. It's something that you do have to focus on, and that's what I was saying earlier, is that, you know, to be able to do something like that, you're really paying attention to how much water you're drinking. It's not just some lackadaisical thing. So I think that is how much water that you should consume. And then the question that you brought up is like, well, when are the best times to drink water? Well, I think there's any time is the best time to drink water, but the number one time that I have really focused on making sure that I don't miss drinking water, and a lot of that water, is first thing in the morning. And the reason for that is, like you mentioned, is that it is a very much, the first things that you want to do in the morning is you want to detoxify and then you want to nutrify, you know, right? And the reason for that is because, you know, you've essentially been sleeping for, you know, 8 hours, hopefully, and you've woken up, and you, during that 8 hours period, you've been doing a lot of work. Like if you're healthy, and if you're not healthy, you'd be even doing more work if you're not healthy, because at that time your body tries to recover, it tries to rebuild, it tries to refresh itself or whatever. So there's been a tremendous amount of activity that has gone on when you're sleeping. Well, all of that activity is going to create waste product. I mean, right?
Yeah.
They're all
Yeah.
metabolic reactions that create waste.
Right.
Well, when you do that during the day, we've talked about, well, you're drinking water, you're eating, you're going to the bathroom, you're moving around. Well, at nighttime, there's very few opportunities to detoxify. So you're going to sweat, you're going to breathe out your toxins. That's really what's happening there, right? So you're going to wake up inflamed, toxic, with a lot of garbage. And so you want to try to flush the system.
Yeah.
Well, water is one of the more powerful ways to flush the system. And so for me, detoxify and nutrify, right? So I've got all of this water. I drink 32 ounces of water, and at that time I also put in some vitamins and minerals. I've got this kind of powder vitamin mineral drink or whatever, and so that's my kind of nutrification, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would definitely do that for anyone. And then I would go and drink the coffees, and I'd go have the breakfasts, and I'd do all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's probably one of the more critical times to drink water. And then I think that the second big time is probably around that 2 o'clock or that mid-afternoon, because again, you've been, working all day, you've been building up a lot of toxins, and that's why a lot of people feel a little tired in that late afternoon spot, is because they've been working, they're tired, their body's beating them, and they're beating themselves up.
There's like a magic time for the adrenals at like 2 o'clock.
Oh, okay,
They say
gotcha.
like to take vitamin C, panthetic acid, and
Okay.
magnesium, but right at 2 o'clock because it's like afternoon slump, which would also make sense to what your point of you're tired. Your adrenals are like tired out.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up magnesium. Magnesium is such a vital mineral, they call it the miracle mineral because there are so many great benefits to magnesium. But the neat thing about magnesium is that it actually helps to pull water into the cell.
Oh yeah. So but there's so many different forms of magnesium.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about this, not to go on a tangent, but what would you say, right? Well, if it were you, what magnesium? Because there's citrate, there's
glycinate.
Yeah.
And so one of the more I think all magnesium's great, but one of the magnesiums that have shown to be easier for the body to kind of digest and take in is that magnesium glycinate.
Glycinate, okay.
And I think if you take too much of magnesium, it can sometimes cause stomach upset and things like that. So magnesium glycinate has shown to do less of that. But that's something that you could do, is if you feel like you're retaining water, a lot of people will stop drinking water because they feel like they're retaining water.
But that's
that's the opposite,
They're
right?
dehydrated, right?
Yeah, well, you don't have enough mineral composition to actually, the water is staying outside of the cell.
Okay, got it, that makes
That's
sense.
why it feels like you're swollen, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, right? You wouldn't be swollen if the water was going into the cell and,
That's
Right.
smart, yeah, because I know a lot of women my age, we hold on to the water weight, and I'm not about the water weight. Get that.
Right, nobody is.
Get it
actually.
off.
Yeah,
I know,
right,
but I'm a little bit more. I think
Yeah,
some
of
people are
course.
more aware, and I think that it's true. It's really when you have that balance of the magnesium and the potassium, the calcium, and all like what you said, what goes into your cells, then you're able to drop the water weight, which is fascinating because edema, it looks a lot like cellulite, and that's gross. Trust me, I've had it. I was over 210 pounds when I had henna, and every time I have any kind of trauma, it's like my body's like, hi, here I am again.
Okay.
And so those cells show up again, and I'm like, what happened? And so, and it happens for a lot of people my age now, as far as like holding on to the water weight, and it looks like cellulite, and it's not. It's
Right.
edema.
Yeah, and that's why you want to be careful too, is if you feel like you are holding water or you're swollen, it could be edema, so check that out, but really it could be just the fact that you're just not maybe mineral
Dehydrated,
deficient.
yeah. Well, and we live in Arizona, like it's kind of no matter what, water just doesn't hydrate you. No, it does hydrate you, But
Yeah, there's a
living
kind
where
of,
we live-
there's hydration and then there's mineral health.
Right,
okay,
right.
And so like it may hydrate you and you may be getting the hydration, but doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting the absorption and the utilization of that hydration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
So what else? Do we have anything else?
I think it's important with hydration because sometimes it can be a little scary. Like he said, what do you say, 90 ounces you have to drink a day?
Right.
That
Yeah,
can
yeah.
seem crazy. Well, even like, so for me it'd be 60 ounces, and that could seem like a lot to some people.
Yeah.
So Christina's got her little hydro flask in the
see,
back
look
there.
at these.
All right.
And my
It's
wild
actually-
gear. I got wild gear too.
It makes it more attainable to complete your goal because these have a higher ounce. So rather than drinking a
point.
bunch of little bottles of water, it's gonna seem like, oh my god, I have so many of these to go. Whereas if you finish one of those big ones, you're
drink it
gonna
up.
get to your water goal a lot quicker.
Yep.
And it's just kind of a mind
That was really smart.
trick.
Yep.
But that's how I complete my water intake. I use the bigger hydro flask, and then it's like, oh, I only have to do, what is that, 20 ounces? 30 ounces?
No, I think it's like 32 ounces.
So two of those. Two
Yeah.
of those in my mind is more attainable than like.
And
do
and
nothing.
it's not sitting in plastic. It's sitting in
Yeah.
our cars in something that's actually not going to seep anything that's icky into your water.
Yeah.
And so, and we also have, if you look on our site, we actually have, and we can post it along with this link, but we have water, like we have a graph, what is it, like a daily thing where it shows like the water intake, and it's kind of like self-gratifying, right?
Yeah.
Like you could just circle the little 16 ounces, another 16 ounces, I did it,
Yeah,
did
that's
it.
great.
Just,
Yeah.
I don't know, I know
It's
that
a
we're grown
health and
adults,
fitness
but just
plan.
something that, you know, helps us all keep accountability, and you
Yeah.
can see your progress,
Yeah.
like we were in grade school.
Tee-hee.
All right, I think, yes.
Yeah, we're good. All right.
All right, we're
Yeah.
good.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
Have a great day.